What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go! Let's go is right. Welcome back. Your boy EJ here on this next edition, night one of 40 days, 40 nights. I really want to give a major shout out to everybody that rocked with me on the first doubleheader that I did earlier today. So this is a new venture we're doing at New Generation Media. 40 days, 40 nights, hosted by myself, EJ Stewart. For the next 40 days, weekdays, of course, Monday through Friday, every 8 a.m. and every 6 p.m. I know I made it just past the buzzer today, is scrambling to get on at 6 p.m. But I got close enough. 8 a.m., 6 p.m., it'll be scheduled. You can wait for me to get ready to go. We'll be ready to go. I'll be doing live streams, talking all the things I love. Talking sports, talking superheroes, talking hip-hop, talking all pop culture, anything that comes to my mind. I'll be giving you guys all my opinions about. We'll have fun guests. We'll have a fun time. And this is really crazy and surreal to be like, hey, I did a live stream for 2 hours earlier in the day. Let's just get up there and do another one. Why not? But you know what? I'm actually happy we're doing it because what I expected to happen happened, which is like the news cycle ends up flipping. And there's all these different things that happen over the course of the day that now I can talk about immediately and get right to you guys as well. So again, if you're enjoying this content or you're enjoying watching my stuff, whether you follow me on WFAN, whether you follow me on the Maggie and Perloff Show on Infinity Sports Network, or you've been right here on New Generation Media. You've been rocking with us for the last 8 or 9 years. We've been doing these podcasts here. Make sure you check us out, man. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. New Generation Media is where you'll be seeing, on YouTube is where you'll be seeing these podcast episodes, these live streams drop every day. Follow us on YouTube, New Generation Media. That's where you're going to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give us a like, give us a comment. As people who watched earlier know, I do read comments on the air. So if you have a comment and it's cool and it's interesting and you're adding something to the conversation, we can enjoy that conversation right here in front of everybody. So I'm gonna bring up comments throughout the show. So make sure you check us out from there. But yeah, like I said before, New Generation Media is where you'll subscribe to the channel. Follow us individually, obviously, me on social media. EJ_Stewart is where you find me on X, Action EJ is where you find me on Instagram. You got a bunch of things scrolling down the bottom. You got a little ticker going, where if you want to know where you can find more of the content from New Generation Media, you can just follow that ticker there. Got all of our subs, all of our social medias, so make sure you check us out. But man, I'm really excited to get it going. I want to actually begin where I wasn't able to get to, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with it because actually, we had to get to a ton of football. We'll have more football stuff to get to on this show as well. But I do want to talk about what's happening with the MLB Hot Stove because it's heating up. It's heating up. There's no question about it. We had a big move happen over Saturday night. It was a crazy night for Chicago because as the Bears are furiously trying to make this crazy comeback, here comes Jeff Passan being like, oh, and by the way, you got a big signing. Alex Redmond going to the Cubs. And that obviously maybe got a little buried because what happened to the Bears in Chicago, but certainly major news when it comes to Major League Baseball. Also, some interesting news regarding Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger, two of the top free agents in this MLB Hot Stove. And we're gonna start seeing, I think, some things happen. It feels like this is the week now that we're 1 full week past the new year. Once you get past the new year, people say, "Oh, you get right back to work," but everybody knows it's a low. You know when you get to your job after the new year, after the holiday, you kind of trying to get back into the fold, but you're not really back into the fold. You're not really trying to follow up with everybody. You're not trying to send that, circling back email. You're not trying to do that work. I think in many ways, this was the same thing with Major League Baseball. Like, yeah, in the new year, they were back, but I think they were kind of just trying to get their ducks in a row, figure out, all right, what the hell are we going to do? And I think this week, you're starting to see things rev up. So I actually want to begin. We talked obviously about Bregman. I actually want to begin with the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes because I think this has actually become quite interesting. So Kyle Tucker, star outfielder for previously the Chicago Cubs, also the Houston Astros. Seems like this is coming down to a 3-team race. According to multiple reports, Jim Duquette, MLB Network, and I think he does stuff for SNY as well. He had the first one saying that Kyle Tucker has met with the 3 teams that he's considering right now. You got the New York Mets, you got the Los Angeles Dodgers, and you got the Toronto Blue Jays. This obviously is kind of the first major step to maybe something happening. The market for Bregman, it seemed at the time, to be like wasn't much going on. Like I didn't really hear much news about what was going on with Tucker. It seemed like we were kind of waiting to see, all right, maybe, this whole big $400 million contract that everyone was expecting this guy to sign, like maybe he actually wasn't as in demand as maybe we thought when we came into this. Like when we were doing the Juan Soto thing last year, we kind of knew what the deal was, and we knew that was going to be the first domino was going to fall. It was going to fall fast because this was a guy that was going to be in very much in high demand, and he was going to get a massive number, and that's what he got. He got the $765 million. Same thing with Shohei Ohtani. Tucker wasn't going to go in the 700 range, but I think there was a thought that he would still be the bell of the ball and that he would really get things going and that there'd be plenty of teams really revving up to try to get this guy. And there was nothing. There really was not a lot of information about where things stood with Kyle Tucker, which was kind of bizarre. And then all of a sudden this weekend rolls around and Jim Duquette, again, first reporting that he's met with the Blue Jays, met with the Mets, met with the Dodgers. You also have Pat Ragazzo, who he's a Mets writer for Sports Illustrated's Mets website. He is saying he confirmed that the Mets did indeed meet with Kyle Tucker, and the words he used were they were cautiously optimistic about their chances for Kyle Tucker. To me, when I look at this Tucker sweepstakes, I know I'm a Mets fan, and listen, when you watch this live stream, you listen to this podcast, there's no real, like, I'm not, like, I'm trying to be as, like, fluid and just as, like, chill about this whole deal as possible. I just want to have a lot of fun. I just want to get on the mic, talk to you guys, engage with you guys with things I love. So I'm not coming here with some kind of big media strategy. It's just like, man, 40 days, 40 nights, get behind the mic and let it rip, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking about this. With that being said, obviously, I host in New York City. I live in New York City. I am a Mets fan. There will probably be some New Yorkness to this show. It's not going to dominate the show. It's not going to be the whole kid and caboodle, so to speak. But you're going to have some New York slants and maybe some New York perspective, so I can bring that with this story with the New York Mets and Kyle Tucker. It feels like to me this is a gotta-have situation if you're Steve Cohen, the new owner, not new owner, but he's been on for a while now, but the owner for the New York Mets. I think this is a gotta-have situation. I suspect, given just the conversation that's been happening in New York about this offseason, which has been extremely negative, I think for good reason. You lose out on Edwin Diaz in a move that just seemed mind-boggling to me. He goes to the LA Dodgers. He was the best closer in baseball last year, maybe the best closer in the last 2 years. He's gone. You lose Pete Alonso, who is beloved by many Mets fans. He's a homegrown Met. He's the all-time leading home run leader for the New York Mets. He broke that record this past season. You let him walk. It didn't seem like I don't think they even offered him a contract. They wanted no business with Pete Alonso, despite his contributions to the organization. And then he traded Brandon Nimmo as well. Brandon Nimmo, who is another homegrown Met, a well-liked Met, a guy who's been here for a long time. He traded him for Marcus Semien. And he also replaced, obviously, Evan Diaz with Devin Williams, who was a pariah with the Yankees. And it does not have a lot of faith and a lot of fans right now in New York. So it's not been a banner offseason for Steve Cohen, who came into New York with a lot of hoopla, a lot of hope for Mets fans, that this person who was a Mets fan who came in with a mega bag, someone who had, he had cash to spend, and he said he was going to spend it. This has not been a banner offseason for him. A lot of Mets fans have lost hope in Steve Cohen and their president, David Stearns, who's running the show there. And I think maybe this could be what I think happened last year with Juan Soto, where I kind of feel like if you're a Mets fan, I know it's hard to say this, the Mets fans are going to cringe. I think I would feel okay about this pursuit and your chances at Kyle Tucker. I think Steve Cohen has heard all the noise. He's heard all the people talking about how he's turned his back on Mets fans and he doesn't understand what this team is about, what this organization has been through. And there's a lot of hurt. This is being real. There's a lot of hurt among Mets fans. He's heard that. There's no avoiding it. And then the conversations about the locker room and the toxicity around it. It's just not been a good offseason. There's been no good headlines for the Mets. I think he knows they need to strike big this offseason. He tried to get on Twitter and tried to make it better. That only made it worse. It seems like every time he goes on Twitter, he seems to only make it worse. I think he knows he's got to hit this one out of the ballpark. He's up against the Dodgers again, a team that, in my opinion, has essentially pantsed him in front of the entire baseball world. They pantsed him for Yamamoto. They pantsed him for Teoscar Hernandez last year, and then this one, the most embarrassing one. And don't forget about Ohtani. The Mets weren't even, they couldn't even get a serious, meeting with Ohtani. And then this one, I think the most embarrassing one with Edwin Diaz, who they thought was going to come back. Doesn't give the Mets a chance to give him another offer. He gets the money he wants from the Dodgers and leaves. I think he knows he can't lose to the Dodgers again. I don't think he's going to allow that to happen. Now, that sounds like famous dangerous words because the Dodgers are always lurking. They always seem to get these guys. But I think that whatever the number is going to take to get Kyle Tucker, I'm not as concerned that Steve Cohen's going to go there. That was different a couple weeks ago when David Stearns was running the show and it seemed like he was turning the Mets into a penny pinching organization. I killed Stearns for a lot of the moves that he was making and operating this team like this is the Milwaukee Brewers. The fact that they're in on Tucker when we know how much money this is going to take. And there's been back and forth about, maybe the Mets won't go as many years, but they want to go high AAV. I think if Tucker is talking to these guys seriously, I don't think the Mets are playing I would hope not. And that's, again, maybe me hoping against hope. I would hope the Mets aren't playing a fantasy game where they're like, oh, we can get Kyle Tucker for 2 years and opt out. Like, that's not happening. This guy's a superstar. They're going to have to give him the 6-7 years, 5 maybe the low number to get this guy at a premium price. If he's taking meetings, I assume the Mets are understanding what the assignment is. Because the Blue Jays, I don't know where they got this money from, but they have decided that they are big game players and they are not going to, not be at the table for these big time free agents anymore. They had the World Series run last year that they were so close of getting in. I think the Blue Jays are a dangerous team. I know people are going to look at this as Mets versus Dodgers in many ways. Those are the American teams. Obviously, this is an American sport. And these teams have kind of been in bidding wars for multiple free agents, and they got high-priced owners. But I think the Blue Jays are absolutely in play here. I think that there is a great motivation to not allow last year's World Series disappointment, which was arguably the most devastating World Series loss of all time. I don't think that that's a hyperbolic statement. You're 2 outs away from winning a championship, and a no-name guy for the Dodgers, it's a home run to send it to extra innings, and you can't win in extra innings. I mean, that was a heartbreaker. That was an absolute heartbreaker for the Toronto Blue Jays. And like I said, they've been big game hunting here. So the fact that they're getting these meetings tell me that they're not going to be a joke in this as well. I think there's a chance that Kyle Tucker absolutely maybe wants to get back to the American League. Last year with the Cubs, his production definitely was down. He battled some injuries as well, but I can certainly see him maybe wanting to get back to the American League. I think that the Blue Jays are a for real threat. I feel like they had to, if they made me make a guess of what's going to happen, I would say I think the Mets get him because I think they have to. The Dodgers don't have to get him. The Blue Jays really want him. I don't think they have to get him. I think the Mets have to get him. I think in order to turn this offseason around, I think any conversation about the Mets taking a major step back that I think they were open to, they've gotten raked through the coals for any approach like that. I think they've known that they may have to shift their focus. So I would lean lean Mets, but certainly Blue Jays and Dodgers, obviously a big threat. And the last thing I'll say on the Dodgers, and it's a pursuit for Kyle Tucker. Is anybody tired of this? Like, at what point are we going to be tired of what the Dodgers are doing where they're getting every single player that's available? It seems like every major free agent. Like, I remember in the NBA when it was LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and those guys all teaming up, and then we saw the era of the super team happening, and the conversation in the NBA was, oh, these guys don't want to compete. Oh, this is boring. Who wants to see all the best players playing on the same team? Blah, 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 blah. And to be honest, some of that controversy and some of that criticism, I believe, was warranted. I don't know why that criticism does not exist for these Major League Baseball players in Major League Baseball when it comes to the Dodgers. Do I think the Dodgers being awesome and being one of the best teams in not one of the best team in baseball, is that great for Major League Baseball? It is quite obvious. The ratings for the last two World Series suggest that is 100% the case. Them being in the mix, one of the top teams, a team that's expecting World Series every year with World Series aspirations, that absolutely is part of the equation that I think is great for baseball, and it's proven to be great from a monetary standpoint. What I don't think is great for baseball is that they get every single player, and then your other premium market teams that you also want to rival the Dodgers, they can't put together the kind of squad necessary to give them real competition. Okay, I do think rivalries make a sport too. We like dynasties, but we also love rivalries. And if it becomes a situation where it becomes the Dodgers and the Washington Generals for 162 games, I do think at a certain point that gets boring, that gets stale. Like I'm tired of this. Like I can't like Kyle Tucker. If he wants to go to the Dodgers, I mean, you can do whatever you want. I understand why people would love to go to LA. All these players want to get to Los Angeles. It's a great place to play, great place to live if you're a professional athlete. And there's a big thing with the weather being that, a lot of these players, if you live especially in, Minnesota, if you live in Milwaukee, you live in New York, you live in a lot of these, some of these colder cities, the luxury of living in Los Angeles is you get to you get to play in a big market, and it's a city that you can live in for 365 days a year. You're not looking for, hey, let me get a winter house down in Juniper. Let me get a winter house down in Palm Beach. Like you're not having to spend X amount of money to also get a winter house to train and work out and live when you're trying to get away from the weather. If you go to LA, you get all the things that come with being in Los Angeles for 365 days a year, and I think that is very attractive to players, and I understand it. And you get to play with a team that it should win the World Series every year. So I get it from a certain standpoint, but enough is enough. I'm tired of the Dodgers, man. I can't do another guy going to the LA Dodgers. So I really hope, for baseball's sake, I really hope for all of our sakes, if you're just a American sports fan who loves baseball, I just hope that we're done with this thing with the Dodgers, man. I can't do the top free agent in Major League Baseball again signed with the LA Dodgers. That to me would be utterly ludicrous. But I'm very fascinated to see, man, how this Kyle Tucker thing goes, and that kind of leads you directly into the next conversation, because I think what happened to him could have domino effects on this guy right here, Cody Bellinger. So the reporting over the weekend and reporting we're getting more today, Cody Bellinger and the Yankees at an impasse. At this point, the Yankees, at least the word they're getting out there, which these things are extremely fluid, and obviously I'm on social media and trying to make sure I don't miss anything. So again, if you're in the comment section, you see something that happens, don't hesitate to throw in, hey, Cody Bellinger just signed the Yankees or whatever. But as I'm watching this Cody Bellinger thing shake out, reportedly they're at impasse. The Yankees at this point, from what we heard, are looking into ulterior options, expecting Cody Bellinger to sign somewhere else. That apparently stems from an impasse regarding the years on the contract for Cody. Yankees have apparently offered 5 years, $160 million for Cody Bellinger. I think they willing to go up to, 170 I saw. He wants 7+ years. That is what Scott Boras, the super agent that is representing Cody Bellinger, who gets all these mega deals for these top players. That is the deal that he is looking for his client. 7 years for Cody Bellinger at a very high number, $30+ million of AAV. Listen, I've been saying pretty much since the offseason began. I was saying during last season, I thought Cody Bellinger was pretty much a must sign for the Yankees. I think his versatility, just him being just a solid ball player, a guy who was consistent. I know he didn't play the great in the playoffs. Okay, newsflash, nobody of the Yankees besides Judge played well in the playoffs. That's just the story of the Yankees. They don't perform in the postseason. But I think for what Bellinger brought them, the versatility, the defense, he's a very good athlete. And obviously he was very good to play. His swing is perfect for a Yankee stadium. I felt like this was a guy you got to get. Like, you traded for a guy that was a perfect fit. You got to find a way to keep him here. You lost Soto last year. You don't want to go through this again. And you got Aaron Judge, who's a guy who you need to maximize these years in his prime, because I think we're entering the end of Aaron Judge's prime. The guy is, 34 years old. You can't expect that this guy, unless he is a Barry Bonds where he can hit 60 home runs at age 37 and 38. I think you're going to start to see some decline for Aaron Judge. You got to maximize these years at this point in his career when he's still an all-time great player. So you got to give him as much support as possible. Bellinger certainly helps with that offense, obviously. And he's obviously great in the outfield playing next to Judge as well. So I thought the Yankees could afford to lose him. 7 years is a lot. 7 years is a lot. I like Cody Bellinger a ton. I've been saying if I'm the Mets, I just give him 6 years, $200 million, and call it a day. I've said the Mets, like, I think this guy would be a perfect New York Met. Now, if you get Kyle Tucker, I'm good on Cody Bellinger. I didn't think that was very possible, but it seems like that might be the case. But I'm high on Bellinger. I think he's a very good player, and I think that he'd be a perfect fit for the Mets. And if the Mets can't get Kyle Tucker and he's messing around with the Yankees, I do think the Mets could come in, sweep in on Cody Bellinger here too. But if you're the Yankees, 7 years is a lot. I think if you're the Mets, 7 years is a lot. I think if you're any baseball team, 7 years is a lot on Bellinger. And again, he's a good player. I'm not, again, going to sit here and tell you that he's a scrub. But I saw someone say this, and I think it was very apropos. Someone mentioned that what Cody Bellinger is asking for, it almost feels like he's asking for the money that he would have made had he had his MVP year. So I think that's been the kind of the funny conversation about Bellinger, is he's this guy who, in his career, he had this meteoric rise where he came in, he was like immediately a star, and as I'm trying to show you my Google Chrome, which ain't showing nothing right now. I don't know why. I gotta bring it over here maybe. Let's see what's going on here. I'm frozen now. That's great. I was trying to show you my screen, but maybe it's not necessary. But nope. Yeah, we're gonna abort that. Sorry about that. Tried to show you my screen. I wanted to show you some Cody Bellinger stats, but apparently the screen share not obliging at this point in time. But what I wanted to say though was I just feel like Bellinger 2019. I just wanted to pull up his stats. 47 home runs, 115 RBIs. He had a WAR of 8.7. He won the MVP. He batted 300. He was a stud. He was the best player in the National League. Then he collapsed. His play collapsed. He went into a complete crater. Injuries, poor play, all the nine. And the rest of his Dodger career was really a footnote until he got out of there. And he went to Chicago, had 2 good years. He went to the Yankees, obviously, last year, had a very good year. He had the year that the money, the years he had are good. And it requires him, I think, to get a deal of at least 5 years, maybe 6, for, around maybe close to $30 million. I think that's fair. But to say 7 years, 30 plus million, it's like he's asking for money that he should have got if he was the MVP. And like Cody Bellinger was not the MVP last year. He did not put up MVP numbers. He put up very good numbers. He played very good defense, as he always does. But he's not an MVP guy. This is not Kyle Tucker we're talking about. This is not Aaron Judge. This is not Juan Soto. This is not Shohei Ohtani. This is not some of those top players that we've been talking about. He's 30 years old, so you'd be getting him for what is essentially the rest of his prime, but you're going to have to then tack on some lean years at the end where he's 36, 37, and he's making $30+ million a year. That's not the greatest concept for team building. I get why the Yankees don't want to do that. My hunch, and maybe I'm being super optimistic for the Yankees in this perspective, is my hunch is that they'll come back to the table. When I hear Yankees offering 5, he wants 7+. It seems to me very obvious. The middle game is, all right, you come to 6 years and you do some kind of options in the middle or maybe at the end. And then you call it a day and you sign a deal and then we pretend like everything wasn't all, chaotic like it was. I feel like this may be some posturing from the Yankees. I think it actually may be smart because I just don't know if somebody's giving Cody Bellinger 7 years. That's a lot. That's a huge deal for a huge amount of money for a guy that's, again, very good, but has had some peaks and valleys in his career. That's a risk. That's a major risk. So I don't know where Cody Bellinger is getting the 7 years from. I mean, the instinct is maybe the Dodgers. I know that's a team that's apparently have checked in on him, and he played there before. I don't know why the Dodgers would be so in on him, considering how bad it went. That's the only thing that's been puzzling to me as to why I've heard about, the Dodgers being, had made contact and been reportedly interested. I'm like, he was terrible during the last 2-3 years there. I don't know why you'd want him back unless you think he fixed his swing or you think he fixed whatever's going on. I just wouldn't want to put him in that same environment anymore. I just want to move on. So unless the Dodgers or maybe the Mets or someone else is going to come in out of nowhere who's desperate to make a splash, come in with 7+ years, I guess. I think it's a good gamble for the Yankees to say, let's see if he'll come back for 5 in quotation marks that I think could probably go to 6, or again 6 with some options, and then they come to a deal. What I will say is, I think if you're a Yankee fan, I would feel a little optimistic that if somehow you lose Bellinger, it might not be the total end of the world, because John Heyman is reporting that the Yankees have already looked at some other options if Bellinger walks. One of them being Bo Bichette, who's a free agent right now. Obviously, the Toronto Blue Jay infielder. He played shortstop. He played second. He's played all over the diamond now. He's been a shortstop for most of his career. The Yankees are reportedly interested in Bo Bichette potentially if Cody Bellinger leaves. Apparently, there are also, quote, at least 4 positional players the Yankees have considered. I feel like if they can get Bo Bichette and you lose Bellinger, it's a loss. I think a loss in terms of what Bellinger's versatility and all the things he brings to the table and why I think he's a good fit. I think Bo Bichette would be an awesome fit for the Yankees. I think Anthony Volpe, and he came with a lot of fanfare, and there's hope for him to be, quote-unquote, next Derek Jeter. I have some concerns of how bad things went last year with the shoulder injury and just the fans turning on him. If things don't get going early and fast for him, I am a little concerned that thing can get ugly fast. If you could get what I think is a major upgrade in Bo Bichette, then you can move on from Volpe and let him figure out his career somewhere else. I think that's a fine pivot. I would be totally fine with that. If Volpe becomes a star somewhere else, then because someone comes to star somewhere else, that's fine. But I think Bo Bichette is an awesome hitter. I know he's not the greatest fielder, so putting him at shortstop, giving the Yankees sometimes suspect defense, not the greatest set up. But if he's gonna hit 300, be the kind of hitter that the Yankees are desperately needed. They've had so many of these guys that have been home run or bust kind of guys. Bo Bichette is not that. He's a complete hitter. He can hit to all sides of the field. He's not a guy who's just looking to hit home runs. He can hit for high average. That's exactly the kind of player that they need. They've been looking basically for a hitter like Bo Bichette, it feels like, for 5 years. So if you lose Bellinger, who's very good and brings lots to the table, but if you add Bo Bichette and you can kind of end the Anthony Volpe experience, I don't think that's a bad pivot at all for the Yankees. Let's get to one more thing on the MLB Hot Stove before we move on to some other stuff on the show. Alex Bregman leaving the Red Sox to join the Chicago Cubs. 5-year, $175 million deal. I'm not that surprised, but the Red Sox are very surprised. I'm not surprised because the Red Sox have been who the Red Sox have been for the last 5 years, where it seems like they can't, as Adam Shine would say, they can't manage their way out of a paper bag, and they seem to me as if I don't know where I assume the facilities are at Fenway Park. I feel like sometimes when it comes to the actual front office, they should just have a reverberating, constant clown music, like circus music. Because the Red Sox front office have been clowns. It feels like since Theo left. I know they've had some brighter moments here and there, but just the management, definitely since obviously they traded Mookie Betts. That's probably the point where you say, okay, this organization went from storied, established, winning organization to clown show. And this falls right in line with this. Like, they were apparently stunned. They couldn't believe that Bregman walked, even though everyone knew he was very much in high demand, and everyone knew that he was going to get a good deal because of what he's accomplished as a World Series champion, as an all-star third baseman, just an overall great player. Red Sox seemed the only one who was stunned. They're like, wow, how could we have known that somebody else would have wanted a multiple-time World Series champion third baseman who's made 5, 6 All-Star games, however much he's made in 1 Gold Gloves? Who could have thought that? We didn't think that. We didn't know. We thought we had this in the bag. I mean, they're clowns, man. They're clowns. So this wasn't surprising for me that the Red Sox, who thought they had Bregman, found a way to lose him, because this is what the front office has been doing for years. And what I will say on the Red Sox thing, in terms of just the epitome of brutality, to quote John Rothstein, you sign Bregman to this deal last year. You bring him in knowing that it was going to alienate your franchise third baseman, your superstar player, face of the franchise, and Rafael Devers. You do it because you feel like Bregman is the kind of player you're going to need to get over the hump to eventually win a championship. And the hope is that Devers either plays ball or you get his ass out of there. But still, he's Rafael Devers. He's still a great player. And he won a championship for you. He's done all these great things for you. He's obviously the big Yankee killer, which all Red Sox fans and Yankee fans are aware of. You do all this, you alienate Devers to the point where you can't keep him around the locker room anymore, so you have no choice but to trade him for pennies on the dollar. You get rid of his contract, which I think was maybe the silver lining, because he had a massive, massive deal for a guy who's not in the greatest shape. That thing might not have ended as well as maybe Red Sox fans would have hoped. But still, he's still a franchise player and still a great player. And that blows up. You lose him. You say, well, you know what? It was worth it because we got, at the end of the day, the third baseman that we think from a playing standpoint, from a locker room standpoint, from a approach standpoint, is the right kind of leader for this team to build a champion. And then you lose him. And then you find a way to lose Alex Bregman and Devers, and now you got nothing. Not, I mean, I assume the pivot is going to be Bo Bichette. They have no choice. Like, they're going to have to, in my opinion, be very aggressive and see if they can convince Bo Bichette, I think, to play third base. And maybe that works out, but, I mean, how do you let this happen? How do you blow up the Devers situation to the point where you have to get rid of him for Bregman, who then you can't re-sign? It's amateur hour. It's par for the course for what has been some sad times, I think, for a pretty sad organization in the Boston Red Sox for the last 6 or 7 years. And this was not surprising. Bregman goes to the Cubs. Nice move for the Cubs. They've been kind of the bridesmaids in a lot of these free agent signings. They've been able to get the mid guys, like the mid-tier, high-price guys. They've been able to get some of those guys from the Japanese imports and things like that. The big fish, the Bryce Harpers, the Shoheis, the Juan Sotos, the really true big names that have been out there. Cubs have always come in second, third, or fourth. They've been in the conversations but could never close the deal, and they couldn't get people over there. So for the Cubs, I know they're gonna lose Tucker, so maybe it's kind of like a net wash. But for the Cubs, this is a win. This is a win, I think, for the organization. I think a win for the fan base to be like, okay, we identified a no doubt top free agent. Like, if Tucker is one, Bregman could be two. Like, he's right up there. Like, a no doubt top free agent. We identified him. We gave him this huge bag, and he signed with us. That, I think, gives you hope that when other free agents come available, the Cubs show that they have the wherewithal to make these big deals happen. So I think that was something that if you're a Cubs fan, you got to be really excited about, that you're able to bring in Alex Bregman from that regard. It just shows that maybe the franchise is entering a different phase of its existence, where maybe they actually can go out there and sign these mega free agents. Like I said, you're going to lose Tucker, it seems like, though. I don't know. Maybe the Cubs are going to spend some crazy, crazy money this year that we're not expecting, and maybe things will change for them. But man, the Red Sox, that was unbelievable. I'm sorry. There's a few things like just completely stunned me. But like the fact that they were stunned is what is crazy to me. Not even that it happened. Like I said, I'm not surprised that it happened. But that they're running around being, oh, how could we have told this happen? I'm like, come on, guys. Like, are you serious? He's freaking Alex Bregman. Like, you did all this stuff to keep him, to get him, including losing your franchise player. And you're stunned other people were willing to give him a no trade clause. Because that apparently, by the way, was the difference in all this. The Cubs offered a no trade clause because Bregman's at a point where obviously he signed this short-term deal. He wants to try to find a long-term home as he enters the second half of his career. He doesn't want to be possibly shipped around. And the Cubs were like, no problem, man. We can't sign anybody. So the fact that you're even seriously considering us and we have a chance to get you and you're a great player and you're going to bring a lot, I think he brings a lot to their team. I think they're a team that desperately, they added Tucker, who is a champion, but I think he's kind of more of a quiet guy. He's not really a leader type. He's not really a type. That is not Bregman. Bregman is a leader. Bregman is a guy that people rally around. He is real championship pedigree. I think that is a big plus for the Cubs, who I think have been missing that since obviously they lost the core that won the title for them, that broke the curse. I feel like that's going to be something that's going to be great for the Cubs, and I think that's going to be worth the money. So they offered them no trade clause. They were like, yeah, we're offering you no trade clause. We're fine with that. Like, you're going to be a Chicago Cub for maybe the rest of your career or however long you want to play. Red Sox didn't want to do it because it was, quote, against team policy. Well, now you don't have them. Now you don't have Alex Bregman. You can talk about team policy all you want. And I understand why you in theory don't want to give a no trade clause. I feel like the no trade clause thing is always a little like, kind of like, what's the word? It's kind of like a shell game to me. I think we've seen too often when things get really bad for a team, an organization, a player, and it's very obvious that it doesn't make sense for that player to continue with that team, no trade clause get waived. I don't know how many, I've watched, I don't know how many players over the course of not just, especially Major League Baseball, where it almost always happens, it seems like. But in other sports as well, where it's like, all right, man, like we see what's happening here. Like Bregman's gonna be 36 years old. The Red Sox gonna be 10 games under, and he has a chance to maybe go win one more title with some other team. They say, come on, bro, just go to the Dodgers or go to some other. Let us just trade you there so we can get some compensation. We move on. I think that the Red Sox, the fact that they were so scared of a no trade clause, I think also just speaks to just again the clown show that is the organization. You just had your long term signed third baseman on your team that was a franchise player that you let go. You already committed for 7 years for Rafael Devers, however many years that was. Now you don't want to commit to Alex Bregman, the guy that you brought in to replace him because he was so much better. I mean, you can't make this thing make sense. Let's get to some NFL coaching carousel stuff. We talked about some NFL coaching carousel stuff last show, the day show, which, by the way, if you want to check out the early morning show, if you were maybe working, you were driving, whatever, you weren't able to catch day one of 40 Days, 40 Nights, this new series I'm doing where we're going to be talking sports and pop culture and all different things for the next 40 days, every weekday, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Let's say you couldn't get there at 8 a.m. Totally fine. It happens. I get it. You can find that show on almost pretty much every platform that we put up there. You can find it, obviously, on YouTube. Day one is up, the full episode. So I believe if you go to our live section, you should be able to find it. I think you go to uploads. YouTube's very weird. I feel like I love YouTube, and again, I'm on YouTube right now, so don't sue me or don't don't turn the lights off on my YouTube. But like I do feel like sometimes like finding where everything is on YouTube when you go to a specific channel could be a lot easier. Just finding whatever the latest thing someone dropped can be very hard for some reason. But I believe if you go to uploads or you go to our live section, that's probably the easiest way to find it. That whole episode's up there. So you can watch all of day one. We went through all the wild card games from the weekend. So you can get all of my takes on all the games that happened. We also went through some Coach Carousel stuff earlier in the day. Among other things, we talked about college football. We did a bunch. It's all going to be there. YouTube, again, subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. That's where you'll find that content. It's also, we go live on Twitter as well, or X. So if you're on X, if you go to my page, obviously it's posted. We're live right now. The episode from earlier is also posted, so you can watch the replay on X. I don't know how many people do that. So I feel like X is kind of a weird way to watch content, but if you do, it's on there as well. And the podcast, the audio version of this show is now also up. So every time I do a show, the audio version will also be thrown up there sometime afterwards. So you can listen back to it as well. So if you want to watch, you can watch on YouTube, you can watch on X, rewatch the old episodes, or you can go to the audio podcast. New Generation Podcast Network is where you'll find it. So don't search 40 Days and 40 Nights. You probably won't find this show. But we're all under one channel, New Generation Podcast Network, where it has all of our podcasts, all of our individual episodes or individual shows. 40 Days, 40 Nights, day one is up there. So you can watch, you can listen to old episodes of this series that we'll be doing on the audio streaming service of your choice. So we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Stitcher, we're on TuneIn. I feel like almost every place. I think we're on Google Play as well. I think anything you do in terms of streaming, you'll find us. So just search NU Generation Podcast, because that's the way new is spelled for us. New Generation Podcast Network. And the latest episode, if you go there today, will be day one. But earlier in day one, we did speak about the coaching carousel, and it is continuing to heat up. We got more news coming up today about John Harbaugh. So John Harbaugh, he completed his first interview with the Atlanta Falcons. This is his first official formal interview that he had. Harbaugh is again expected to be maybe the most coveted coach that's going to be around in terms of people looking for coaches in this cycle. He met with the Falcons. The reports are that he essentially, according to Connor Hughes of SNY, the expectation among other coaching candidates. I don't know what that means. I assume other coaching candidates, a lot of these coaches have similar agents. Coaches also talk. It's a weird fraternity. Not weird in a weird way, just weird in that like they all really are like, there's like a weird like companionship, I guess is the best way, or kinship maybe is the best way I could put it. So I wouldn't just throw this out as nonsense, but it is a weird kind of couch that Connor put on it. But shout out to Connor, who's obviously a phenomenal reporter of SNY, covers Jets and Giants. He's reporting that the expectation among other coaching candidates is that John Harbaugh is going to choose between the Giants and the Falcons. The Dolphins are lurking and are interested, and I guess Connor Hughes mentions that they are, I guess, also in the mix, but that other coaches are expecting a decision to be either Giants or Falcons for John Harbaugh. So John Harbaugh interviewed with the Falcons today. I think that would be a great fit for John Harbaugh. I felt like the Falcons job has kind of been, of these jobs, maybe like the one that's been kind of like underrated and kind of underappreciated at this point for head coaches. Number one, clean slate. The general manager, Terry Fontenot, who made a lot of bad decisions, is gone. So if you're getting hired, especially before your general manager, that means if you go there, you're going to get a lot of say. You're also going to the NFC South, which I know the Panthers put on a very competitive performance and almost a performance good enough to beat the LA Rams on Sunday or Saturday, whenever they played. I don't think that is a division that I'm afraid of if I'm John Harbaugh or any head coach. Like, I look at that division and say, the Panthers won it with Bryce Young at 8 wins. Let me get there. Let me find a way to get myself to that division, because if that team could win with that quarterback, like, I mean, a few things break right, and I could just, if I just win 10 games a year, I'm winning I'm gonna keep a job. Like Todd Bowles has been able to keep that job in Tampa because he's been able to stay in that division and compete in that division. Whereas if he was playing in another division and he's winning 6 games a year, he's probably out of there. Like, Todd Bowles still kept his job because he was able to compete for a division that 8 wins was the difference between winning and losing it. Like, I think John Harbaugh, if you can go there, you got a easy division. You have a bona fide superstar in Bijan Robinson, who was in the prime of his career right now. You're getting him in the prime. They have some defensive guys who are studs, man. James Pierce is a stud. I know he was kind of fell through the draft, but and there was questions about the trade that they made with the Rams, and it definitely was a dicey trade, but James Pierce is a dude. The fact that they got this guy, he looks like he's going to be really a franchise pass rusher. It might have been worth it for the Falcons to make that trade. So they have an up-and-coming defense that I think showed great strides. They have some really good young players. They finally found a pass rush. The question is quarterback. The question is quarterback, and I get the question being quarterback, and I get the issues that the quarterback position has had. I think the way I would see it, you got Michael Penix, who's coming off the ACL injury. He's had multiple ACLs. That's not ideal. I do feel like also the jury's out on him. Like, we saw him play. There were some moments where he looked good, some moments where he didn't look good. He never looked like, to me, I mean, he had some bad games. On the Panther game this year was awful. But for the most part, he's never, to me, looked like a complete disaster. But have I seen franchise quarterback from him consistently? No, I cannot say I've seen that. And this was essentially his first full year starting. But he was an older quarterback coming into the NFL. I believe he was 23. So this is not like you're getting a 21-year-old, 22-year-old guy. Like, this is a guy who's older, so you expect him to be a little more ahead. And in year 2, there was no major jump from year 1. So this question of the quarterback. I would argue again with the division, and I think with what Penix showed, I would still not be as afraid to take that chance, considering the other option is the New York Giants. The New York Giants, I don't think, is a terrible job. I actually think it's also kind of an underrated job, because even though the team success has been so bad, there are a lot of good players on the team. if you're talking about quarterback being the difference, one guy's a torn ACL, so that's a problem in itself. But I don't know if I saw something with Jackson Dart this year that made me think, oh, he's definitely way better than Michael Penix. For me, both of them have had moments where they looked really good. Both of them had moments where they looked really bad. I think that they're a mixed bag. I mean, Dart is coming into year 2 coming up, so like I guess Penix is a year ahead. Am I certain Jackson Dart's going to look way better in year 2 than Michael Penix looked this year? I cannot say that for certainty. Could it happen? Yes. If I had to lean where it would go, I would think he'd probably play a little better than Penix, but I don't know for sure. Like I mean, the Viking game, he threw like 30. He threw for 30 yards in the game. And don't let that last game against the Cowboys fool you. He was, and then the Raiders fool you. Those teams were laying down or were awful defensively and dead man walking with Matt Eberflus. Dart was a disaster for like a month. He was getting hurt, fighting with how he should play. Like, for me, if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm not going to run to the quarterback's going to be the difference. I'm looking more at infrastructure, more at team. And the other thing, too, is, again, similar with the GM situation, you're inheriting some crap if you go to the Giants. Unless he's going to go there and say, hey, listen, I'll come there, but you got to fire Joe Shane, which I know every Giant fan would stand to give him a round of applause and beg that John Mara agrees to do that. And he might. The word has been that this has been by far the Giants' number 1 choice, and they definitely want him, and they're going to try to get him by almost any means necessary. They're giving the tea leaves out that perhaps they would move on from Shane if he is the difference in letting this guy and getting this guy. But John Mara is also a proud man. He's also a man of, I think he carries himself in his eyes. I'm not doubting that he isn't, but I think he sees himself as a man with great integrity. We know that because he's against this tanking thing, which has been killing the Giants in terms of screwing up their draft positioning. I think we saw kind of the negotiation with Saquon Barkley and how much that bothered him as someone who valued Saquon Barkley and what he meant to the community and to the organization. He's a different cat from that regard. I don't all these owners, they're billionaires, they're cutthroat and all that stuff, but I think there's some difference in John Mara in terms of how he just presents himself and how he sees himself. He may say, oh, you're going to come over here and tell me I got to fire my general manager who I want to keep? No, I'm not going to do that. I'll just hire Kevin Stefanski. I think that is possible. Now, that's not the indication they're giving out. They're giving out the indication that they are going to do, quote unquote, whatever it takes to get John Harbaugh. But I want to see if John Harbaugh really puts on that pressure, if Mara really would fire Shane in order to get John Harbaugh. I'm not 100% convinced he would do that. So if you're John Harbaugh, there's a chance you got to inherit Joe Shane, who's a buster. As a general manager, the draft picks have been very hit or miss. The free agent decisions, very hit or miss. Besides Brian Burns, that was awesome. But besides him, and that was really a free agent, that was a trade. He has built a terrible team. He has the Giants almost remind me of like the 90s, the early 2000s, mid 2000s Knicks. Like, they got good players, but as a team, they're just not well put together. That's who the Giants are. Like, the Giants have stars, and names that but they're not a well put together team. And you trust that guy will be the guy that's gonna, be maybe, John Harbaugh is not super old, but this could be his last major NFL job. Am I gonna trust this guy? I would prefer to maybe get to Atlanta and have full say, because they're going to hire a general manager after they hire me, which means that I'm the guy that has more priority. So I have more say in the roster, more say in how the team gets built. And I don't got to inherit Jackson Dart. I don't got to inherit anything, a general manager. I can just do this how I want to do it in a much easier division. I don't got to deal with the Eagles. I know the Eagles are a little bit of a dumpster fire right now, but you still got Howie Roseman. He's the best general manager in sports, arguably. So good luck trying to beat the Eagles. Cowboys are the Cowboys, Commanders are Commanders. But the NFC East is generally a bear. And the Giants have been the laughing stock of the division, no question, for the last 10 years. This might be the team that I look at if I'm Harbaugh and say, maybe I go to Atlanta, where, like, I know they've kind of been a mid-franchise for almost their entire existence, but I'm probably I can't even say besides Dan Reeves, because he actually won a Super Bowl, John Harbaugh. I'm the most accomplished coach they ever had. I'm going to an easy division, and I got maybe the best running back in the NFL. That's a good start. If I'm John Harbaugh, I would definitely seriously consider that. He's also, though, this is the beginning of this. He did the interview with the Falcons, But according to Adam Schefter, he has had, quote, extensive preliminary calls with the Giants, Titans, Browns, Raiders, and Cardinals, which I think is almost every other team. He didn't. I wrote this here in my notes. I guess I didn't see Dolphins. Now, I don't know if that was because just the timing of when they fired McDaniel. Maybe they didn't talk to him yet, and the Dolphins are reportedly interested. So that seems stunning that he hasn't talked to them yet. But that's what I wrote down in my notes when I was taking the article from Schefter about what happened. Giants, Titans, Browns, Raiders, Cardinals are the teams that he had preliminary talks with. And the way it's being framed is that Harbaugh is vetting the teams, which shows you just how much juice he has. Like, these teams are, supposed to be vetting candidates, and they usually are the ones that have the power. Harbaugh is the one with the power here. He's the one with the Super Bowl ring. He's the one that is, a 60+% winning percentage. So now he's in a position where he's actually vetting the team to see if they're a team that is worth his time. So he's talking to them. He's going through his back channels to figure out how things are like and stuff. So this is far from over. I would be shocked if he doesn't do a Giants interview, because it seems like he's definitely interested from what we're hearing, and the Giants badly want him. So this is far from over. But the reporting earlier today from Connor Hughes, Falcons or Giants is the expectation from coaching candidates on what's going to happen. And the other part of this, the last thing we'll do before we move on, last part of this is whoever doesn't get him, Kevin Stefanski is expected to be the runner-up who will then get whatever job is left, apparently. And that's maybe not so surprising because, again, I mentioned earlier on day one of 40 Days, 40 Nights, where I mentioned how during the Ole Miss Miami game, Jackson Dart, I think I might say it was a hot mic. It was just a camera that was on him. But a camera was on Jackson Dart, who's on the sidelines, obviously to support his Ole Miss Rebels in that game that they lost to my Miami Hurricanes. I had to throw that in there. But no, like he was there and someone was talking to him about something. And it seems very clear to me. I'm very good at lip reading. I'm one of those people who can lip read pretty well. But this didn't take an expert to do this. I think everyone can see. It seemed very obvious that whatever question was asked to him by this person that he was talking to on the sidelines, he then answered Harbaugh or Stefanski. That was the lip reading that happened. So that then goes with this expectation from Connor Hughes, where he's saying that the runner-up for Harbaugh's interest between the Falcons and Giants will end up with Stefanski. That lines up with what you saw from Jackson Dart last week when he was caught telling somebody it's Stefanski or Harbaugh for the Giants job. At least that's what it certainly appeared he was saying. So that's another interesting tea leaf there. We'll continue to talk more about the NFL head coaching cycle. It has definitely been a trip, and I think this is gonna be wild. And like John, what's the name said as well, we got the earlier news about LaFleur and that fact that he's apparently trying to work out a deal with the Packers, and I'm still wait and see. I feel like we've been here before where, they're working on a deal to try to come back, and if for some reason the deal just never comes through, and say, you know what, they decided to just part ways because they couldn't come to a deal. Like, I want to see that contract signed. I want to see that agreement announcement made before I say that it's definitely a done deal that LaFleur is back. I think that he's going to be definitely an interesting figure here, because one thing that Schefter put in the article today on the Harbaugh stuff was that, to go along with this Harbaugh stuff regarding the coaching vacancies, other vacancies may become available after the wild card round, which obviously I think that's a little bit of a nod to potentially the Packers. I also think it's potentially a huge nod to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I don't think that Harbaugh's going to go there, but I just think it may create some tea leaves and create some dominoes that may be interesting for people. So I also think that Sean McDermott, who I think if the Bills would have lost that game on Sunday, and it would have lost because of his idiotic coaching down the stretch where he's running in a touchdown with a minute left and the other team has no timeouts, which was purely idiotic to me. Like, I think there may be some other teams that also may be in the mix here. So I think this is going to be a coaching cycle. It's going to be very fun to watch, no question. Again, this is a new generation media. You're watching this show, live show, 40 Days, 40 Nights. It is a live stream, so we're going to have fun. Like I said, you want to comment on the show, make sure you You give it a comment. I do read the comments on there. Actually, you can post comments. So if you're watching on YouTube, I can't actually see if you can post comments on Instagram or whatever. Well, I guess I'm on X as well, so I can't see those. But I can see if you're in YouTube, you can comment on YouTube, and I can read those comments. I got a text from my guy, who I hope to get on this show. I assume he's watching, but I don't know. I saw him. He texted me something about the actual coaching search. So maybe they, what's this? But this is my guy Rob DeRay. Rob DeRay, for those who don't know, a lot of you may not know, but he really one of the reasons why I was able to start my career in radio in many ways. Back when I was in Hunter College, wanted to get into radio, and I wanted to do a sports show. And they said, we have a sports show here. Think it'd be cool if you talk to this guy who does a show here and get his feel for how things are and see if it's a fit, if you want to work here. And talk to my guy, Rob. Ended up being awesome dude. Continues to be a friend of mine. So shout out to him. He's an awesome NFL guy. He knows football in and out. He's coached football. He's played football. And honestly, so he's actually inspired a lot of core beliefs I have about team building, players, evaluating talent, all those things. He's actually inspired a lot of that. So I hope you guys get to meet Rob DeRay through this 40 Days, 40 Nights series we're doing, because I'm going to do multiple shows. But he sent me a text. I don't know if it's because he's watching and therefore he wanted to say something about the coaching cycle, or if he just happened to text me because we talk about football randomly at times. But he said the quote, "I don't want anyone to lose their job. I just got fired. People you called to be fired. Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, A.J. Brown, Trevor Lawrence, Sean McDermott, Matt LaFleur, Justin Herbert, also Mike Tomlin, question mark." See, that's Rob DeRay. That's his humor. I don't think I called for half of those guys to be fired. I don't think I called for Sirianni to be fired. I said that he was definitely made a mistake in bringing in Patullo. I said that Patullo probably coached his last days as a Eagles coach. So I guess that's one. I said A.J. Brown's got to go. He's not losing the NFL job. I guess he's losing the Eagle job. Okay, that's two. I did not want Trevor Lawrence fired. I said Trevor Lawrence would never win a Super Bowl with the Jaguars. Did not say they should trade him, and I don't think they should trade him. So I'm not going to take the Trevor Lawrence to Nick Sirianni. Sean McDermott, he's TBD. I did not say he should be fired yet, but that was some idiotic coaching. So I did not say yet. LaFleur, I did say he should go. I did not fire Herbert, and I did not fire Tomlin yet. So he gave me a list. I think this is probably because he listened to my earlier show, because I think I made this comment earlier today about coaches being fired and saying I don't run to say, hey, we got to fire people left and right. I just got fired, like I said earlier. But yes, I did say in this business, Kevin Patullo should not be the offensive coordinator anymore. A.J. Brown should not be an Eagle, and Matt LaFleur should not be the Packers head coach. So I guess 3 of the 7 or 8 guys Rob DeRay hit me up with that I claimed I don't want to fire anybody, but I fired 3 people today. Listen, man, this is sports talk. This is streaming, right? Like, we're talking to both sides of our mouth all the time in this business, man. But shout out to Rob, man. He's an awesome dude, and I hope, again, we get to have him on the show at some point. And we'll continue to obviously follow the head coaching cycle as it continues. But moving on, man, I want to get to what I assume someone has this name. I assume somebody has this name. Somebody has to have. And if they don't, it's free game. I'm not planning on doing a college football transfer portal podcast. But Portal Combat just seems like obvious, right? Like, how is that not a podcast? How is that not something that people have trademarked and copyrighted and all those things? But it is Portal Combat when it comes to college football. And we had some big news when it came to the transfer portal today. So the biggest coming from LSU, where Sam Levitt, he has officially committed to LSU. The reporting from multiple people in college football reporting is just college sports reporting, because definitely football is just a wild, wild west. So you're reporting things, people saying, "Oh, but it's not a done deal," but say, "Well, it is," and well, the understanding. And I got a shout out to my guy Matt Moscona. He's been on Maggie and Perloff show before. He does the LSU Locked On podcast. He's been an awesome guest on our show for Maggie and Perloff. he's been very accessible to a lot of folks. I like when guys make themselves available to talk about the things that they love, the passions. And he's been making himself available to talk about all this stuff happening with LSU and Lane Kiffin. He's been on the money with his reporting on a lot of this. The last thing I saw before I jumped on to do the stream was that he saw, yes, terms of agreement have been made. Deal's not signed. So, again, this is college football, so it's Wild Wild West, so they can call Sam Levitt to the cows come home. The expectation is that he will sign the deal because the terms have been agreed to. So, let that be the caveat as it is. And as of when I came on the show, Sam Levitt was indeed a LSU Tiger to be. Just taking it from that standpoint, just on face value, big win for Lane Kiffin, who I think really did need it. I don't think this was a small thing. It's kind of been interesting how quiet the portal has kind of been for LSU so far. Like, I think when Lane Kiffin got there, I think everyone kind of expected, all right, like it's going to be just like a one-way ticket all across the country of players getting down to Baton Rouge to play for Lane Kiffin. It hasn't quite been that. Like Cam Coleman, the star receiver for Auburn, signed with Texas. I think people thought Lane Kiffin would be on him. Lane Kiffin and LSU have obviously hosted some other guys. In terms of the big names, they haven't been the mega names that have been going to LSU so far. And then obviously Lane Kiffin's taken all this shrapnel from the fall off of Ole Miss, from abandoning the team, from Ole Miss finding a way to get all the way to the semifinal, and all the talk about, oh, they were able to do all this without Lane Kiffin. So he needed a W. He needed this badly. So I think the fact that he got the number one quarterback in the portal, that thing is legit. He will be my number one quarterback. I know 247 Sports, I believe, has him as the number one overall player. We could squabble about that, but he's definitely, without question, one of the top players in the portal. I think Sam Levitt's really good. This year, in some ways, I actually think was more impressive than last year for him. Last year with Cam Scatteroo really taking a lot of the brunt of the burden offensively, Levitt was able to kind of like game manage his way, I think, through a lot of that season for Arizona State. This year, a lot was put on his plate. I know they didn't have as much team success in terms of winning, but he had some huge games. He had some stinkers like any quarterback would when you're trying to carry a team. And he had Jordan Tyson, who's an all-world wide receiver. They're going to have to get him some receivers down at LSU. But he showed me that he could be a star quarterback for a team, and he could carry a team. There's no question about that at this point. And considering whoever LSU may or may not get, they may need him to do that this year. So that's a big win for Lane Kiffin and LSU. He was considering Kentucky. He was considering Tennessee, which the last reporting was that Tennessee is apparently maybe still trying to put together a Godfather offer to bring him in there. Tennessee badly needs to get some quarterback. Like I feel like the Heupel situation is kind of looking a little. I wouldn't be so. Josh Heupel, for some reason, wasn't interested in other jobs that may have become available the last few years. He's one of those guys where I kind of wonder if getting out early would have been smart, because we now see the SEC is not as strong as we thought it was, and we're in a situation now, coming off of an 8-win season where you beat no ranked teams. I don't know if they beat a team with a winning record this year, and you got lapped by Vanderbilt. Those Hounds, they circle fast in the SEC. So the year he had with Hendon Hooker, that the feel good story, beating Alabama, all that stuff, that feels like 10 years ago. That feels like forever ago. So I understand why Tennessee, after all the embarrassment that happened with the Nico Iamaleava situation, where I think both sides look bad. I don't think anybody came out winners. I think they were like, we need to find a star quarterback this year to run the Heupel system and get us back to being a 10-plus win team. So to lose out is definitely a terrible look for the team. Sorry, I'm sending out. This is the deal with doing live streams. Unlike doing normal podcasts where I can pause, I gotta send out texts from my fiance when she texts me urgent things. Best of both. Best of both. Wait, now I got to see. This is what happens when you do a live stream, man. Sometimes you gotta send out tests that you have to do. You can't wait. You can't pause. You can't do whatever. Let me just send this text out, and then we'll get back to this Heupel situation. But anyway, yeah, I feel like Heupel, they gotta find a way, man. They absolutely have to find a way to get a top quarterback. And I think with him, another rough year at Tennessee. I think buzzers start circling about what's going on with him and the progression of the program, and the SEC again is cutthroat. So I understand why they're trying to put together a Godfather offer to make Sam Levitt change his mind. I don't think he will. I think he's going to end up going down to Baton Rouge and staying. So the Tennessee pivot is going to be one to follow. The Miami pivot is also going to be one to follow too. Miami had housed is the right word? I don't know. Is housed the right word? Housed a Sam Levitt visit? They hosted. That's the word. They hosted Sam Levitt for a visit over the weekend. And, again, it's everything speculation. Everything is just hearsay. People just make stuff up. You don't know. But the momentum was that, this visit went really well. And the voting, the betting odds were that Miami was the favorite to land Sam Levitt. They just had this almost all-time Miami week where you win the Fiesta Bowl, beat Ole Miss. You're going on to your first national championship game appearance since 2003. The U is back. There all the conversation about what it means for Miami to be on this national stage in this national way. So all the momentum seems to be on Miami's favor. And then you're bringing in all these recruits, these transfers in. They signed a bunch. They signed a receiver. They signed a safety. They got kids just this week from these visits that happened. They got a kid from BC. They got a kid from South Carolina, one of their top receivers. So all the momentum. Sam Levitt's probably going to be the next one. And then he doesn't. He goes to LSU. The pivot for Miami is going to be interesting, man. Like, their depth chart, they don't necessarily have what you think are, locks to start next year on the team. Emory Williams has gotten time. He played a couple years ago due to some injuries. But when he's got his time to play, he does not look like a surefire starting quarterback capable of taking you to the college football playoff. They have a guy, Luke Nickel, I believe, as well on the team, who's a recruit. This will be his second year coming in next year. I think the jury's out on whether or not he's ready to play college football playoff caliber quarterback play. So, with some other guys that are now deciding to go to other teams, you got Lagway come into Baylor, though he's taking more visits. We'll get to Raiola in a second, who also committed. Starting to wonder where Miami finds this next quarterback. As a Miami fan, I know I'm super locked in and excited about the national championship game. And to be honest, Miami, that should still be their main focus, is finding a way to beat this juggernaut that is Indiana Hoosier football, which is still crazy to say, even in 2026. Even though we've seen them now dominate for 2 years, that is what they've become. You got to have some concern about what's going to happen next year. Who's going to play quarterback? Because the quarterback has changed life for the Hurricanes the last 2 years. Getting Cam Ward 2 years ago changed life for them 2 years ago. It flipped the entire offense, flipped the entire program. They had their first 10-win season in I don't know how long. That was huge. Getting Carson Beck, obviously, worth all the money in the world, despite whatever a Cavender twin will tell you, or Lane Kiffin, or some other Georgia fan 245X on X will tell you about Carson Beck. Best money they ever could have spent was bringing in Carson Beck, because he won in that game in the Fiesta Bowl. He's been, outside of a couple of really bad starts in the middle of the season, the steady hand that Miami needed at quarterback. So the quarterback position, I got to tell you, very important. So figuring out what the pivot is going to be from Sam Levitt is going to be big, because there doesn't seem to be an obvious one that I can just see that's very clear as day. I'm very fascinated to see what ends up happening with the Hurricanes and the QB cycle as well. All the reports have been out there that they've been very much interested in Ty Simpson. But Ty Simpson has declared for the NFL draft with the quote-unquote wording that he is getting word that he is a first-round pick. And it's a weak draft class, so I guess you kind of have to believe him. There are a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. He's not the most imposing physical presence, so sometimes I wonder if he profiles as a surefire first-round pick. But he had a lot of production this year. He was a big recruit. He certainly can sling the rock. He's a very good player. I like him. I feel like I liked him, and then everyone started to like him, so now you get a little nervous. Oh, man, I think you guys like him too much. Kind of like him as a sleeper, and now everyone's talking about him. He may now be going back to sleeper status, where I think because of how the season ended for Alabama, they looked so bad offensively, and they looked so awful in the Rose Bowl against Indiana, where it looked like they just kind of quit. I think maybe people are now a little off on Ty Simpson, so I'm actually curious what the real NFL evaluation is. Is he really a first-round pick? We'll see. But Miami reportedly is very interested. Some report today that SEC teams are offering up to $5 million, and then a quote non-SEC team is offering $6.5 million. I can't imagine what other non-SEC team is offering that money other than Miami, if that's the reporting. Who is it? Notre Dame has a quarterback. FSU is always scrounging for pennies in their couch to try to give out some money. They couldn't get Lagway in the building. I don't think they have $6.5 million to spend. Who also just, by the way, just earned another like $20 million because they get to keep the ACC purse for every time you advance in the college football playoff. That's the Miami Hurricanes. They've been making bank with how they've made all this money from playing in the college football playoff and advancing. Most conferences outside the ACC, you win, the conference gets a pool of money that gets shared around. I think there are varying rules. Sometimes it's an even split. I think maybe sometimes the team that wins gets like the lion's share or whatever. That is not the case with the ACC. The ACC decides you go to the college football playoff, you win, you get all the bread. You don't got to share with Virginia. You don't got to share with FSU. You don't got to share with Wake Forest. You don't got to share with SMU. You don't got to share with, who maybe can't anyway because they have this weird deal where they function, they fund themselves. But you don't got to share with Clemson or anybody. That's all your bread. So when I hear a team is offering $6.5 million to a quarterback that's a non-SEC team, and I'm looking at the teams around that need quarterbacks that are definitely aggressive in the portal, I can't imagine that's not Miami. So that does present an interesting question for Ty Simpson. I know his agent has kind of been a little coy about the plans moving forward, but if you're Ty Simpson, do you risk that evaluation being correct that you are indeed a first-round pick and go into the NFL next year with not knowing what your situation is going to be? Or do you go to the U, where you can go to a team that now has a proven track record that they can win on the highest level and advance to a national championship game, maybe compete for a national title, and now they have 2 years in a row where they've taken quarterbacks who were declared for the NFL draft that then pull their name out to then go back to college and no doubt improve their stock by doing so. Cam Ward, went from being a third or fourth round pick to be the number one pick in the draft because he went back to school and went to Miami. Carson Beck, I don't know where he would have got drafted this year, but between the elbow injury and all of the negative noise on that guy, just the perception of him is 10 times better going here. I don't know if it means he leaked 3 or 4 different draft spots. I don't know for sure. But the perception of Carson Beck is today is 100 times better than it was at the end of last year when he left Georgia. So you look at those stories and you say, man, looks pretty good down there. They're winning. Quarterback goes there, gets a lot of credit, seems to change his whole perspective. One guy became the number one pick in the draft. I think that's a pretty good bet considering you're also getting $6.5 million to play at the U. You're playing also in the ACC. You don't got to deal with the SEC or the Big Ten or some of these other quote-unquote power conferences. I put in quotation marks because, as we're seeing, Miami is doing demolition derby to all these narratives about power conferences. But you're playing in what is said to be one of the weaker conferences. You get out of the SEC. Not a bad spot. So the U is definitely going to be one to follow, I think, when it comes to what happened with the quarterback situation moving forward. Also want to talk about Dylan Raiola. Dylan Raiola, he also committed today to Oregon. This was also a must-nab to me for Dan Lanning. This also, by the way, is confirmation that Dante Moore's out of there. I know there was some questions about, hey, is he really going to leave? He's only started 16 games, and maybe he decides to come back. Most quarterbacks who enter the draft after being just a full-time starter for one season don't have as much success. Well, it seems like Dante Moore said, bump all that, I'm going to the NFL, because they've already committed his replacement in Dylan Raiola. So they had to get him, because we now know they were losing Dante Moore. And, I mean, the stench from that disastrous Beach Bowl performance, Dan Lanning needed to get a big get, I think, to kind of turn the page from what I think are fair conversations about what kind of big game coach he is. Oregon and Oregon's fans, they have been very steadfast to blame a lot of their troubles on Mario Cristobal and his inability to coach in big games and all those things. And they all can be true, because I've seen it. I've seen Mario Cristobal with the Miami Hurricanes struggle in big games and blow games that Miami should have won. But now I'm also seeing Dan Lanning. Maybe not blow games they should lose. They should win, rather. But I am seeing him lay complete, utter eggs against elite opponents and get absolutely embarrassed in postseason play. This is now 2 years in a row. Again, in 2 years playing against teams that you were competitive against in the regular season. They beat Ohio State last year before they got absolutely smoked in the Rose Bowl in the playoff last year. They were highly competitive against Indiana in a one-score game this year at home. I know you lose, so you feel bad. It was a home game, but it was still a competitive game. They had a pick six on Fernando Mendoza. And then they play them in January, and they got no freaking clue. They're throwing pick six on the first play. Fernando Mendoza's bouncing up and down the field. Two embarrassing performances from a head coach that carries himself with quite a bit of bravado, not afraid to talk some trash, not afraid to talk about what he's doing and what he's building for this program. I think it definitely was a little bit of a crack in the armor to watch them get really embarrassed like that 2 years in a row in the playoffs for a coach that we think so highly of. So he needed to get a time commitment at quarterback. So Dylan Raiola certainly fits the bill. Raiola's an interesting cat. Like, I feel like folks are very much I think the perception of him, similar to Carson Beck, is a little like distorted because he is become this caricature. Like, we all see the Patrick Mahomes memes. He does. Patrick Mahomes is his favorite player. He does. I don't want to say idolize. I've never heard him say that, but he does pattern a lot of his game around Patrick Mahomes. But it does seem like he's taking the Patrick Mahomes influences pretty far. Like we've seen with the headband, we've seen with the pregame ritual where he runs to the end zone, he does the two jumps and looks into the crowd. We see the way he does the pointing, the give me the play, where he does the hand motion, come in, give me the play so I can hear you in the headset. Like, he's doing a lot of stuff. He wears the same gear before. He was wearing red and white, just like Patrick Mahomes wears, because of course he plays for the Chiefs and then Raiola played for Nebraska. So he became kind of a caricature. Especially when you consider like there wasn't like he was winning national championships or competing for college football playoffs at Nebraska. I feel like the perception of Raiola, who before all this, we were looking at as a generational prospect coming out of high school. He was the number one quarterback. He was considered to be a blue chip kind of guy, and a guy that would be 3 years and to the NFL. And that's why it was such a big deal that Nebraska was able to keep him, in the family, so to speak, because of course his dad and his uncle played at Nebraska. I think his uncle was still coaching at Nebraska. So Raiola, the player, really is kind of taking a backseat to Raiola, the caricature. I'm still interested in Raiola, the player, because I think him getting out of Nebraska, where Matt Rule's done a decent job, but let's be real. Like, I think Nebraska is still a ways away from being ready to compete at the college football playoff level or something like that. And to me, if you're Raiola and you're talking about NFL, I don't know if you really were going to see the best of him playing with those skill players, playing with that offense. He gets to go to Oregon now, where you know he's going to have high-end skill players. You know he's going to be coached at a high level still. And he's going to play in premier games, play for a college football playoff. Like, now we're going to really get to evaluate this guy. And I still think he has talent. He obviously got injured this year. He broke his leg. He's got to come back healthy. But this was a good fit, I think, for both sides. I think Raiola getting out of his kind of family tree, so to speak, to go to Oregon, good look for him. Maybe he can get away from some of this Mahomes cosplay that we keep talking about. And for Dan Lanning, who I think definitely had to get him. Also, I think a crucial move by Oregon as well. So last thing on this, there's not really transfer portal news, but it's still college football news that I wanted to get to. Is I had to move this thing over. Oh, that is really big. Let me see if I can adjust that on the fly here. But Trinidad Chambliss is a situation that I still can't quite wrap my finger around. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on here with this kid. So, stud quarterback at Ole Miss. I've really, truly become a true Trinidad Chambliss fan, watching him towards the end of this past season. With all the stuff happening with Ole Miss, I wanted to watch Ole Miss play, and Chambliss was super impressive in these games. Watching him during the college football playoff, he was also super impressive. So, I've become a Chambliss fan. So much so that I'm like, that guy, we talk about Dante Moore, I would like to see this guy in a Jet uniform. I think that he has shown that he has an arm, he is athletic, he has the creativity in terms of being able to make off-platform plays. He showed everything I need to see in terms of potentially being a NFL quarterback. He's not the biggest guy, but he's not like a shrimp. He's not 5'11" or 5'10". He's 6'1", maybe 6'2". I think that's plenty. I think that's good enough to where he'd be fine. I like this kid. I think that he can be really good at the NFL level. But he refuses to go. He is hell-bent on playing college football. So he is now suing the NCAA. He was denied a waiver to play for a 6-year at Ole Miss because he's been in college football for 5 years. And it's like, bro, you don't have a COVID year. You've played for 5 years. Like, enough's enough. Like, you got to go to the NFL or go get a job or do something else. And he is hell-bent still on playing at Ole Miss. So much so that he has gotten a lawyer, and they are planning to sue the NCAA for an injunction that would allow him to play in college football next season. And I've had people try to explain this to me. Like, shout out to my guy Keith McPherson, who I hope to get on this stream as well. Knowing him, he's probably streaming right now because our brother's always streaming. He's always working. He's always putting some kind of content together. But, like, he was trying to explain it to me. Someone tried to explain this to me. You have a guy who is 23 years old, who, if he enters the NFL this year, will be 24. So he's an older prospect. But he's 23. He's had, by far, the most exposure that he has had throughout his entire career. He has gained all these fans, all this NFL interest because of the run he just went on. He's entering an NFL draft where there's probably 2 quarterbacks at the very top and a ton of question marks in a year where a ton of teams are looking for young quarterbacks. Why the hell won't he just go to the NFL? Don't give me I can be a big man on campus for a year. Don't give me I can help my draft stock for a year. That's all nonsense. Big man on campus, who the hell cares? Like, okay. I understand that Chambliss, this was his first go around. He wasn't the starter coming into the season. He was the backup, which I don't know how that happened, but he was the backup coming into the season. He comes in kind of like 2 or 3 games in, and then he takes over the job. So it's all right. Well, now he gets a full off season. He gets to be the full, he gets the full reps, the full kind of shine of being the man at Ole Miss. And for a young guy at his age, considering the money they've offered him, I'm assuming that money is exorbitant for him to be going to these lengths to sue. That means you're gonna have to spend probably, I assume, at least $1 million to sue the NCAA. So the money he's getting from Ole Miss to get this lawsuit down probably also is exorbitant. So I get he's getting a lot of bread to come back, but at this point in time, you come back for another year. There's no guarantees about next year. We don't know who Ole Miss may or may lose out of the portal. We already know you've lost your head coach. Lane Kiffin is gone, and this little, I don't want to say little because I don't want to belittle it. He was awesome during these playoffs. But this run that he went on in this college football playoff, Charlie Weiss Jr. was calling the plays. Guess what Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to be next year? He's going to be at LSU. He's also not going to be there. So head coach, gone. Your offensive play caller, gone. Who knows what kind of offensive coordinator, offensive staff Pete Golden's going to put together. I think Pete Golden was a fine hire. I think he showed that he could definitely do the job as a head coach. But we had no idea. We have no idea. And he had in tow an elite offensive staff. That was something he benefited from. We don't know if he's going to have another offensive staff like that next year. So what the hell is he coming back to? I don't think he knows what he's coming back to. That's why this thing is so puzzling to me. So you have no idea what you're actually coming back to in terms of what you're going to see next year for Ole Miss in terms of their offensive staff. Next year's draft class, you now enter a year older. So now you'll be 24 years old playing college football. So the evaluation becomes more harsh about who you are as a player because teams are going to be much harsher on older prospects. Ask Tyler Shuck. And now you're also entering a class that could have way more NFL-ready prospects in it. Arch Manning, Raiola, Lagway, Sellers, Ty Simpson, if he does decide to come back to college football and play in Miami, Ty Simpson, some other guy, random, that are going to come up, because that always happens every year, random guys like Trinidad Chambliss come out of nowhere and make themselves an NFL prospect. some rando's going to come up out of nowhere. Maybe Sam Levitt is going to be in the conversation. Like, now he's playing at LSU. You're going to enter now a loaded college NFL draft QB class next year. Like, if your goal is to maximize your best opportunity at success in the NFL, I don't think that means going back to Ole Miss. And this is not a Dante Moore situation where you're saying, oh, well, he only started 1 year. No, he started 3 years. He played at Ferris State. He was playing college football already. He won a national championship. He played at Ferris State. He started basically a full year at Ole Miss. He's got the experience. There's no reason why he can't be successful. So this whole thing about him being so hell-bent on staying at Ole Miss, I don't want to say it makes me like question him as a draft prospect, but it is weird. Like, that'd be the first thing I'd ask him if I was an NFL evaluator. I'd be like, hey man, so we had you as like a first round grade or second round grade last year, and you decided to go back to college football, not know who your offensive play caller was, and to enter a loaded NFL class this year, and now you're a year older. Why the hell did you do that? He better have a good answer. I would not, like, I don't think I want to be big man on campus. I want to win the Heisman are good answers. I definitely don't think winning a national championship is a good answer because the college football playoff is a crapshoot. You got to win 4 games against good teams to win a championship, or at least 3. Like, miss me with that we can win that championship. This is not like the BCS era. This is not like the old college football era where it was just 1 game and you're in the college football championship, or BCS, you just go undefeated and you're in the college football championship. That's not what college football is this year. You have a great season, like Oregon had last year, and you play against a red hot Ohio State team, you get bounced immediately. So this is mind-boggling to me. It does not make any sense. I've wrapped my head around this now for the last week or so, or really weeks, and we've been talking about Trinidad Chambliss and this Ole Miss situation, and no one can give me a good reason for why this kid is so hell-bent on continuing to play college football. If you're in the comments, you want to give me a comment, I would love to know why he would possibly want to play college football. It doesn't really make any sense to me. So if you got the answers, I'm all ears, man. I'm all ears. I would love to know why you think he's doing this, because I don't quite get it, man. I don't quite get it at all. It's been fun, man. This is this is a awesome, fun stream we're doing here. 40 days, 40 nights. Again, for those who are unfamiliar with what we're doing, it's a new show I launched where we're going to be talking all things EJ, really. It's very obvious I love sports, so we're talking a lot of sports. We'll be talking sports. We'll be talking superhero stuff, which we'll get into in a second. We'll be talking pop culture things, all different kind of topics. It's basically, the way I've explained it is, to me, it's a stream of my consciousness. Like, I want this to be the most authentic version of myself. And I think any show you listen to me on, if you listen to me on Maggie and Perloff, if you listen to me on WFAN New York, if you've heard other podcasts I've been on, you've always gotten authentic EJ, because, as you know, whenever I host on The Fan, number one rule, EJ always keeps it 100. But but obviously, because of the nature of shows and the nature of like what the goal is for every show we're doing, we're hitting a certain audience, we're hitting a certain topic, so like it kind of puts you in a little sandbox of what you can or can't talk about. And I'm hoping that this show could be more of a stream of consciousness of everything I like. So, I love football, I love basketball, I love baseball, I also love hip-hop, I love Marvel, I love DC, I love some reality TV. You may get some of that stuff in here. Like, there's going to be all different things that we'll talk about that will be fun here. And this will be a primarily sports show, because I know that's what's bringing a lot of you folks to my channel. So, again, appreciate you guys for doing that. But we're going to have tons of fun with this show. I want to give 2 shout-outs that I gave earlier today on social media, but I want to make sure I also give it on the show, as this we're coming to, not at the end, we have a couple more segments, but we're nearing the end of night 1, which will be the first full day of this project we're on, this 40 days, 40 nights.
Day damn one, Vivian. Day damn one.
Day damn one coming to an end. Shout out to Uncle Phil there. But I want to give 2 major shout outs. I want to give a shout out to my guy, Andrew Kaplan. Andrew Kaplan, who, he was the wizard of both the DA show and also Maggie and Perloff on Infinity Sports Network. All the funny graphics, funny clips, funny videos, funny memes, all the stuff you've seen from both DA show on Infinity, slash CBS Sports Radio and Maggie and Perloff in the last 2 years. All the work of the great Andrew Kaplan. And he was the one that came up and helped with the graphic that was essentially what I call kind of the, what's it called? I consider it almost like the album cover of this show. Like, we have a logo. I love the logo. The logo I kind of helped design myself. But to me, like, every cool thing, I wanted to kind of have an album cover feel for when I made this drop. Because I do look at what I do as almost like a drop. It's almost like a project that you're launching, like any artist, right? I do feel like what I do is creative. So I really want to shout out Kaplan because he created this art. I'm stalling for a second. I just want to see if I can pull it up. I would do my screen share. Maybe I'll try my screen share one more time. I tried it earlier and it went horribly wrong. I'm gonna hope that maybe this time won't be quite as disastrous. But let's see if it's disastrous. Give it a shot. Let's see. Hey, it was not disastrous this time. There you go. That's what I was trying to do earlier. Okay, let me also get rid of my lower third so you don't see that in the way. But I want to give a shout out to Andrew Kaplan, who helped create this awesome. Well, nah, it did go away. That's not good. Let me try that again. Here we go. He created this really cool graphic that I wish you could see in full, but obviously my head's in the way. Can I move myself? I can. There you go. Hey, I can move myself. So he created this really cool graphic that is what I consider kind of like the album cover of this project I'm on, And it's actually a spoof on the original poster for the movie, 40 Days, 40 Nights, which I'll show you here as well. So, confession. And this is definitely a part of the show. I'm definitely going to end up having to do it on the show because this is wild that I'm going to admit this, but I will admit this. I've never actually seen the movie 40 Days and 40 Nights. Or at the very least, if I have, I don't remember. Because there's plenty of movies that, especially when you're a kid. And, when you're a kid, you see a million movies. And movies you forget. You don't even think about it anymore. You just keep it moving. But, I don't remember seeing 40 Days and 40 Nights. Doesn't mean I didn't definitely see it. I was actually watching clips as I was putting together the open for this show. Open that I'm actually really proud of. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's kind of a funny little compilation of clips from this movie and the next person I'm going to give a shout out to in a second. And myself, of course. But I've never actually seen this movie. I was watching clips from it earlier today. It definitely feels like a movie that probably didn't age well. I'm not sure if you could do 40 Days and 40 Nights in 2026, but I don't know. Maybe you can. Who knows? I'm not judging, but no, this was the original poster for the movie, and I really wanted to do something that was kind of inspired by that. I wanted to do something super fun, and I told Cap this was kind of the idea I had. Let me know what you think. Gave him a couple of notes, and he came up with my version of 40 Days and 40 Nights, the movie. So in this case, not the movie, it's the live stream / podcast. So I want to give a big shout out to Andrew Kaplan, man. He's done so much work for the Maggie and Perloff show, and so much work helping me with stuff for my own content. Whether it be my graphics obviously for WFAN, or obviously stuff he's done for Maggie and Perloff. He's the man. So much love to Cap. Anybody who's been a D-Alien, or anybody who's been part of the Maggie and Perloff Weedos and Coffee Drinkers, part of our community, our family, know how much we love Cap and what he's done. So I want to give him a major shout out because he helped make what, again, I consider kind of be the album cover of this show. So shout out to him. Also want to give a shout out to this guy. Want to give a major shout out to XV. So for those who may not be familiar, XV, he's a rapper. He's from Wichita, Kansas. He was a real rising star during what hip-hop fans consider to be the blog era of hip-hop, where rappers learned that they could actually kind of create their own buzz and create their own fan base without the need of a major record label. They were able to do it by essentially getting on a blog, hitting the right people, making their own blogs. It really became like a time of the people for hip-hop. No longer did the record labels tell you who you could listen to, who you couldn't listen to, or radio stations. Rappers were able to really create their own music and make their own mixtapes without all the hurdles that come with record labels and things like that. And some of the best, I'm kid you not, some of the best hip hop in the history of this art form came out of the blog era. And I know I was a young adult of the blog era, so I'm biased. I will fight anybody about the impact of the blog era and how much amazing hip hop came out of it. I would argue maybe the greatest era of hip hop ever. XV is one of the rising stars from that era. And when I was thinking about wanting to do something post Maggie and Perloff, I was like to be clear, the radio iteration of the show, because like Maggie has said, like Perloff has said, there's hopes that they will put something together that will be a new iteration of the show, and I'm really excited to see what that ends up looking like. But when the radio version, when the Infinity Sports Network version of the show ended, I wanted to do something where I could talk to the people. I wanted to do something where I could connect with a lot of our audience that has followed me and supported me through my work with them. And then people will also follow me again through other aspects, whether it be again WFAN, New Generation, just personally, because people have grown to see this kind of journey I'm on as someone who's trying to make it in this media industry, man. It's a tough industry, it's a tough business, but it's something I truly love. And XV, the idea of 40 Days, 40 Nights kept ringing in my head. And XV did this music campaign back during the blog era. This was 2008, where he said, I'm going to drop 2 songs a day for 40 days and 40 nights. 1 song in the morning, 1 song in the evening for 40 days. And that ended up being 80 songs over the course of 2 months, which is like, for even now today, like if you're a music fan, that sounds unheard of for someone to drop 80 brand new songs for 40 days in just 40 days. It's a short amount of time. That's basically, you could argue that's 10 albums in a span of 2 months, essentially, or 2 months, a little less than 2 months. But that's what he did, and it was kind of a groundbreaking journey, and it was super cool. And he dropped some awesome music, and like I wrote in my tweet today, it was a groundbreaking music campaign, and it was kind of like, it kind of was represented a lot of that time where people were just going out there, creating content they loved, and just dropping it, and the world was loving it. And that's kind of the inspiration I had for this. I wanted to get out, put out some content that I hope people would like, people would get behind, not worry so much about, making sure it's perfect or making sure all the other things are. I just wanted to go out there and get behind the mic. I was ready to talk. Like, shout out to, everything Westwood One is doing with the new station and stuff. But, I really cherish that time of having that national platform. I cherish that time being able to get my thoughts, my sensibilities, my takes, my everything. I put everything into Maggie and Perloff, everything into the show and everything I do. So, when that went away, I knew I didn't want to be quiet for long. So I was figuring out what's a way I can commit myself to something that, maybe has a shelf life a little bit, just so I know, like, I have something I can do immediately before I figure out what the next step is, because there will be something that comes after 40 days or 40 nights for sure. What's something that gets the ball rolling immediately for 2026? And I kept thinking about XV's idea of 40 days, 40 nights. Like, man, that was such a cool idea, like what he did. And I was like, is there a way I can do something similar to that? And then the way I kind of worked around, I know it sounds kind of like simple, but I was like, what if I just did 40 days, 40 nights? What if I just did live streams twice a day? What if I did shows where I did 1 in the morning, 1 in the night, talking sports, talking all the stuff I love? And the more I wrapped my head around, the more I started thinking about ideas of how I could make it happen, the more it seemed like the right move to do. But the one step that I really wanted to make sure I did before I launched was I wanted to reach out to XV, who actually, shout out to him, he's actually been pretty, accessible. Like, I've told him how much he's been an inspiration to me. He's been willing to, chat me up and stuff like that, or, just through DMs and stuff. So he's been a super gracious dude, super nice dude. And I kind of just DM'd him last week, kind of out of the blue, just being like, listen, man, like, obviously I love your work. You know how much, I love your work. And I've had this idea about doing 40 days, 40 nights inspired by you. I would love to have, the cosign of you and the blessing to do this. Like, I don't, it's very clear that this is the inspiration. XV's mixtape, Popular Culture, is behind me, the album cover. So there's no, I'm not shying away. Oh, this is a brand new original idea only EJ Stewart could have came up with. Like, the inspiration from XV is very obvious. And so I did want to reach out to him and say, hey, listen, this is something I want to do. It would be kind of like an homage in many ways to you to do this. He's someone who also loves sports and stuff, by the way, as well. Loves a lot of the same content, loves superhero stuff as well. And he could not have been gracious enough. He was like, "That's awesome, man. I totally support it. Like, go ahead, do your thing." And there was some early conversation about maybe having XV come on the show. We'll see if we're able to put that together. But whether that comes together or not, man, I just want to give a major shout out to him. He's the original Mr. 40 Days, 40 Nights guy. Outside the movie, of course. Shout out to the movie, obviously. Shout out to the folks that made the movie. I had up there. Obviously, got to give a shout out to Josh Hartnett, who obviously was the star of 40 Days, 40 Nights. He deserves a shout out as well. So, the inspiration, though, was XV. Again, I never watched this movie. I will watch the movie. I'm going to give a review. I'm going to give a review on this movie. I don't know. It's not going to be this week. Maybe it's one of these weeks I have in these 40 days. I'll give a review of 40 Days and 40 Nights, a movie that came out in 2002, and see how did this hold up. Again, watching some clips last night, putting together my opening, I was like, this is raunchy. This is definitely not quote unquote PC. I'm very curious at watching the whole movie how much it actually stands up. But again, I wanted to give those shout outs. Shout out to Andrew Kaplan once again. Again, phenomenal job on the kind of album cover look that he put together. And major shout out to XV, who helped obviously with just his inspiration, just what he did, and him being the creator that he is, inspired me to do this. And also shout out to him for allowing me to do this and giving me that cosign that he was willing to say, yeah, you go ahead and do your thing. I really did really appreciate that. So I wanted to give those two shout outs before we wrap up today's episode of, I did the wrong thing there. Let me get back to my screen there. There you go. Before we do wrap up this episode of 40 Days, 40 Nights, night 1. We already did day 1, so now we're in night 1.
Day damn one, Vivian. Day damn one.
So we wrap up night 1. There's one more thing I wanted to get to, and this first day, not as much hoop talk. Actually, before I get into what I want to get to the end of the show, I actually do want to see. I always like to today also when I'm planning for these night shows. I wanted to also be kind of a look into kind of a preview of the night as well. So if you're out there and you want to see, all right, what's happening this evening when it comes to sports, I hope that this will be something that you could actually go to and see it. I'm sure now, of course, I don't want to show up because this is how this thing goes. I'll try this one more time. Let's see if this works this time. There you go. All right, so let's see what's actually happening in the NBA real quick. 8:15, massive game between the Steelers and the Texans. We'll have full breakdown of that tomorrow. Let's quickly go around the association before we get out of here. So what do you look forward to for tonight? Some games already underway. It's 7:48 here Eastern time in New York. Jazz and Cavs right now tipping off. Cavs, really bizarre season, only 4 games above 500. They're actually down against the Jazz here, 41-31 currently. You got the Pacers playing the Celtics 7-10 early in that one. You got Raptors, Sixers, that one also early in the first quarter. Later on tonight, Mavs, Nets, that's kind of a snoozer. Anthony Davis, by the way, injured his hand. Kind of TBD on kind of when we're going to see him. And that's a big development. Like, he was someone that was all but a surefire bet to be traded, with teams hoping that he could make an impact for the playoff race this year. Now he has ligament damage in his hand. He needs surgery. He's expected to be out multiple months. Is the team going to trade him knowing that he has his hand surgery and then expecting he's going to come back for the playoffs? Like, I actually kind of wonder if this really puts a real wrench in the plans for the Dallas Mavericks. So this game, not that interesting, as of course you can't see because I got my face in the wrong way. Let me move that over. There you go. Now you see the thing for today. But no, like that. I know you're not a huge thing for this game in terms of what's happening with Anthony Davis, but I think for just the future of the Mavericks this season, definitely interesting to watch. Lakers, Kings also later tonight, and then you got Hornets, Clippers. Not the greatest night in the association, to be honest. This is not a great slate. If you're an NFL fan, if you're an NFL and NBA fan, unless you're one of these teams that never misses a Nets game or Lakers game or a Hornets game, if someone never misses a Hornets game, then God bless you, man, because that's a tough life. But unless you're one of those teams, I think you flip on the NFL game and you enjoy Aaron Rodgers versus the Texans. I think that's what you end up focusing in on. So I did want to do that real quickly. Like I said, obviously, big game tonight that we're all going to be paying attention to. That's going to be the story of tomorrow morning, the story of day 2 of this new venture we're doing here with the 40 days, 40 nights project that I'm on. Texans, Steelers, that is at 8:15, so that'll be getting all ready to go in about 25 minutes, and that's also part of the reason why. Oh, I don't want to show you my notes. That's part of the reason why also why I wanted to do this 40 days and 40 nights in this time slot. Time with this, again, just a great time to kind of just do a lot of housekeeping stuff. Time with this is gonna be kind of like TBD, kind of like I think the times are the times, like 8 a.m., 6 p.m. That's what it is right now. Obviously, the hope is for me to do these shows in the evening before like the major NBA games kind of start. So get your night ready for NBA action, baseball when that kicks off. Actually, this won't be on during baseball, so we'll really be on the NBA when this happens. Any NFL games, I know we're kind of done with the weekday games after today, but that will also be done before. That's the original plan. The plan is to do like an evening show to kind of break down what happened during the day and in the afternoon, and in the preview tonight, and then the morning show to then kind of recap what happened the night before. That's kind of the game plan for why we're doing 8 a.m. early, 6 p.m. early evening. We'll see if the times end up having to change, whether it be career reasons, whether it be personal reasons, anything like that. This was the time I came up with that made the most sense for now, so I don't anticipate it changing immediately, but it's just something to follow if you guys ever want any, to know for sure when you can find the next episode of this show. Always make sure, again, follow those social media accounts on the bottom ticker right there. Again, Action EJ is where I am on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok as well, Action EJ, EJ_Stewards, where you'll find me on X. So if you ever want information on where the show's going, make sure you follow me on those platforms. A couple of things I'm going to get to real quickly. Try to make this fast before we get out of here. We'll make sure you guys can watch this game. Is LeBron James retiring? It's a question that has been asked this year just because he's in year 23 and it's a long time, and he kind of feels like he's been a little bit of a no man's land at this point of his career. But today made me really wonder, this could be the end. So the NBA announced that LeBron James is going to wear a special 23 patch, and this patch, which he will wear on his jersey for every game, will be a way for the league to commemorate LeBron James's time in the NBA, playing 23 years. I guess it's the most in NBA history. Actually, let me see if I can pull up the actual patch for you guys. But the patch features it's an embroidered patch on his jersey. It features LeBron James doing his signature chalk celebration or chalk ritual he does before games, where he gets all the chalk and he puts it on his hands, and then does the actual patch you see is the patch, and I got it here. Let me see if I can show you guys real quick. The patch that you see is a likeness of him doing the thing. Of course, this thing always does this thing. Okay, there you go. You can't see my face, but you can see at least this thing I was trying to find. So there you can see, and I'll close this real quick. So that's the patch that he's going to be wearing on his jersey for the rest of the season. So it has 23, it represents 23 seasons. It has the color is blue, red, like a darker red, and a yellow. Those colors to represent the teams he played for. Cavs, Heat, Cavs, and Lakers. It's odd that he's doing this, and the one thing that I think kind of I'm not here to duck anyone's yums. Like, if you're a card guy, that's super cool. I'm not really into super, collecting cards, but I know it's become again a big thing. It was a big thing when I was a kid, and now it's a big thing again now. It's not my thing, but other people love it, so again, shout out to you if that's your thing. But the other thing about this is apparently this patch will also be placed on some ultra rare trading cards, which also leads to a lot of money. So he's gonna wear these patches. These patches are gonna be put on trading cards that are gonna be super, super rare. That then I guess it can be sold for a bunch of money. But this is what he's gonna wear for the rest of the season. And I heard this news and I was like, is it over for him? Like, for a guy who's, I know, and I am not necessarily against the idea of people getting the flowers but they can still smell them, to quote Kanye before he was a complete lunatic. I'm not against that per se. I think we should do more of that kind of thing. I think this is a little weird though for a guy. This feels like a thing you do in your final road of on your farewell tour. This doesn't feel like a thing you do for a guy who's going to play even next year or a couple more years. It seems a little odd to me. I was surprised by this. I kind of hope that it is the end. Like, if this is the end and you're doing this, I actually think it could be kind of cool. If this is the last season, you wear this patch for the rest of the year. I mean, he's an iconic player. Without question, one of the most iconic players ever played the sport. I'm fine if he gets to wear a patch for his last season. That's not something that's going to drive me crazy. If it's not, it's simply just a way for the NBA to celebrate LeBron James as if they don't celebrate him enough already. It feels like it's someone who's like trying to grab attention. It feels like someone who's trying to get people to say, look at me, remember me. And it feels like a very LeBron thing to do in a way that's a little cheesy and a little corny. I'll be honest. Like, I've never been the biggest LeBron guy per se, but I like to be fair when I talk about LeBron James. I think that he is, in my opinion, a top 3 player of all time. He's not number 1 for me. He's either 2 or 3, depending on the day I feel. But he's one of the absolute greats. There's no question about that. He's won 4 titles. He's done all these amazing things on the court. He's done, obviously, great philanthropy work off the court. We all know what LeBron James has done, who he's been as a public figure. But to say, hey, I'm gonna wear a patch just to say that I'm in year 23 when this is not your last year, or we're gonna wear a 24 patch next year? Is it gonna look like the patch for this? Is it gonna be a logo of the show 24? Like, I don't know. I think this feels like you do this. The significance of the number really isn't that significant to me. I don't think it's that significant to NBA fans at large. I think the fact that he's playing 20 years is crazy and impressive, and it shows that he's, one of the GOATs, obviously. But the year that matters for LeBron is the last year. That's the one that's going to matter to everybody. So if this is the last year, if this is how you want to commemorate it, okay, cool. If it's not, and you're like, this is your way to get attention for what you're doing because you don't feel like you're getting enough attention because everybody's focused on Luka Doncic and other stars around the NBA, that's where it veers towards corny side. I'm hoping that's not what this is. But I hear LeBron James ask him about playing back-to-back. He said, man, I'm 41 years old. Like, you know that I don't know if I'm going to play a back-to-back. Like, it's going to be TBD for the rest of my career. Like, which I thought was very funny. I thought it made sense. Like, he's old, man. He's old, and I think it's very clear. Even when I watch him, he's still really good, which is crazy considering his age, how long he's played. But when you watch him, you can see he's not the same player. Which I was not sure for a while if I was going to be able to say that because of just how incredible he's been late into his 30s and then even into his 40s. But you see him going, these tomahawk dunks. He doesn't get up as high. You see him try to guard people. He's not moving quite as good. He's definitely at the end. This is what his end looks like. It looks better than any other player I've ever seen. But for him, this is the end. Like, he's definitely, I think, reached his maximum in terms of what you're going to see from an athletic standpoint. So, I'm fine if this is the end. Like, I think that it makes sense. I hope, again, he's not trying to do this as a way to drum up attention just for the sake of attention. And then say, oh, okay, next year I'm going to retire and then give me a farewell tour. And we'll give him another patch again. Like, I don't know. It seems... That part of it seems a little weird. I'm hoping that that's not the case, but we'll have to, I guess, figure out and see what happens, man. There's a lot of stuff I still wanted to get to. I'm kind of debating whether I should get to. I just save it for tomorrow. I do quickly just want to say, again, we'll talk Playing Hero stuff. I know this show, the preview for the show said that I want to talk about Sebastian Stan, and we will talk about Sebastian Stan. I also want to talk about what happened with the Black Panther. There's a lot of interesting Black Panther news coming out as well. Maybe we have a casting that's being kept under wraps, and maybe plans for the future of Black Panther 3. Like I said, this show will consist of Marvel and DC news when it's applicable, so I want to make sure we get that in there. I'm running a little late today, so I think I'm going to hold it for tomorrow. Maybe that'll be a morning part, maybe a night part. We'll see how that goes, but we'll definitely get some more Marvel stuff in there. Monday Night Raw also happened earlier today, so maybe there'll be some stuff we got out of there, but we're going to have a lot of fun, man. This was the first day of 40 days and 40 nights. Was contemplating whether or not, hey, do I bring in a guest? Do I bring in people? I think for the first day, let's do a solo dolo. Let's give people, again, a little bit of a vibe of what a solo EJ show would sound like or look like. And you'll get other versions of solo shows from me as well. But you will, again, get some guests. I would almost guarantee there'll be somebody I'll get. I don't know who that is at this moment. I'm being totally honest. I said, I always keep it 100 on the show. don't know who that guest is going to be immediately at this point in time, but I guarantee you will have some guests probably this week, and there'll be guests throughout this series. So I'm really excited about that. But I think that's a good place to leave it, man. So I want to give you guys a great. First, I want to give you guys a round of applause. Rocking with me for day one of 40 Days and 40 Nights, and just supporting me in general. Like I said, the words I've gotten, the kind words from the listeners of Maggie and Perloff, listeners of WFAN, after the merger with Infinity Sports Network and Westwood One, which meant the end of Maggie and Perloff on Infinity Sports Network. The words of kindness have been so well received from me. I hope you guys understand that. I hope you guys understand how grateful I am that I was able to be a part of your lives in a small way through that show, and that you guys are continuing to support me in a major way through this venture and future ventures I feel like I'll be on. And I hope you guys continue it, man. But I just want to again say just how much it really did warm my heart, how much I really appreciated hearing so much of the Weedos and coffee drinkers of the Maggie and Perloff community, of the former D-Aliens from the DA show on CBS Sports Network, from, again, folks from WFAN who listen to me on there, people from New Generation, people from New York One. I'm a New York Oneer as well. Never on there, but I was a producer at Spectrum News New York One. So if you're in New York City, you definitely know about New York One and the work that they do. So I've had some New York One folks reach out to me and about how much they've been happy to see my growth and see my journey. So really awesome thank you to all you guys for your support through all this stuff that's been going on and supporting my career. And I hope you continue to support this project, this thing that I'm doing. 40 Days and 40 Nights. Make sure you follow me on social media. EJ_Stewart is where you'll find me on X. Action EJ is where you'll find me on Instagram. Make sure you follow me on TikTok as well, Action EJ. You can also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, if you're going to watch this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. You get the alerts for every time we do a show. The upload goes up there so you can see, all right, the scheduled 8 a.m. or scheduled 6 p.m. You can hit the notify you so you know when we're on live so you can be ready to go. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media, on YouTube. I'm also streaming the show live on X. I saw it was streaming live on X. I'm also trying to stream it on Instagram. I thought it was, but I don't know if I've seen it up, so I don't know if something happened with that. But typically, we'll also be streaming on Instagram Live. But definitely make sure you subscribe to us on our channel, New Generation Media. Make sure you give us a like, comment, favorite, everything you can do. Give us as much support as you can, because again, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff happening throughout the year, and your support definitely matters. And finally, as well, like I said, every episode of this podcast will be posted on our audio podcast channel, New Generation Podcast Networks, where you'll search on whatever streaming service of your choosing, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn, where you'll find us on Apple on podcast services. You want to find the audio version. So day one is already up. Night one will be up later tonight. You can listen to it tomorrow morning, or you listen to it later tonight. And we'll be doing that throughout this entire time. But again, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this edition of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Night one officially in the books, which means a full end to day one in the books.
Day damn one, Vivian. Day damn one.
Day damn one is a wrap. Day two begins tomorrow. Enjoy the final wildcard game. Texans versus Steelers. Should be a good one. Again, I'm EJ Stewart. Thanks, guys, for checking me out. I'm out.